Hello and welcome to our podcast today, Unleash Yourself podcast. And today we have the pleasure to have Margherita Sforza with us. How are you doing, Margherita?
I'm doing great, Lucian. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. How was your day?
Very enriching.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
All right.
very enriching.
Good.
Thanks.
To start with this term that we have discussed until now, like neurolanguage coaching. What is neurolanguage coaching, and what was your personal journey with neurolanguage coaching?
Okay, yeah. Well, I'll start with what is neurolanguage coaching. Now, it's been considered an approach, a method. For me, it's a way of being, a technique that I learned and that I use in the language learning journey with my clients. So the technique in itself includes how the brain works. So helping learners to understand how their brain works when learning and specifically learning a new language. So understanding how the brain works and understanding any emotional blocks, where it comes from, what inhibits them from learning, kind of the holistic approach to learning. So that's kind of the neuroscience or the neuro side of neurolanguage coaching. And then there's the coaching side, which are all the different techniques, coaching techniques used to help the learning process be more focused and specific for the learner, including more of a, let's say, collaborative approach in learning. We do have specifically with neurolanguage coaching, we have the standards, the ethics, the framework of the ICF that we include in our services and in the sessions that we have with our learners. So that's the coaching side of neurolanguage coaching. And then the language side, well, it's whatever language we're helping our coachee transfer to and learn. So yeah, overall, I would say, for me anyway, it's a technique among many techniques used to make learning more efficient, and to help learning a language become potentially faster, having more long-term results.
All right. And what is your personal journey in this field? How did you transition from like a regular teacher, so to speak, to neurolanguage coaching? Tell a little bit about your journey to our listeners, please.
Yeah, sure. Well, I started as a, let's say, a traditional teacher trainer in French and English, and in France. So that's where I'm based. And I found that I didn't identify with any of the methods, the teaching methods that I learned in school, in university. And so I felt it was kind of forced upon us teachers to, find our method, find, the method or the multiple methods to use with our learners. And I found a lot of the methods were very directive and to be honest, lacking personalization. So I already had kind of the coaching approach at the time. This was maybe over 15 years ago. So at the time, coaching was not very common, but I
Right.
felt already that identified with the coaching approach,
Mm-hmm.
um, personalizing for my learners, becoming more interested in how they like to learn, discussing like clear objectives, motivation, setting specific like checkpoints. But I lacked let's say, really the technique, a framework, a clear framework. And what was important to me was to have credibility with my learners and, well, other schools, because at the time I was looking to expand and become an entrepreneur myself. So I felt that my university degree in teaching was fine, but what was going to really distinguish myself from people who were just calling themselves coaches. So that's how I found the neurolanguage coaching certification, where I thought, okay, well, this is, actually something concrete, a certification I can show to prove, that I've actually gone through the process, and I have. I felt that I needed that credibility to have a piece of paper, that I was a
Right.
certified neurolanguage coach. But I also wanted to learn, aside from that, I also wanted to deepen my knowledge of coaching, the coaching techniques, and learn more about the brain. So yeah, so that's how I started, getting interested in neurolanguage coaching. And I was at that point,
Right.
I was developing as an entrepreneur myself. So, yeah, I offered, I was talking about it a little more, and my coachees were quite interested in this innovative approach, and I wanted to know more. And again, at the time, whether it be coaching or the brain, we weren't really talking about it as much as we are today. So it really kind of gave me that edge
Mm-hmm.
as a business owner. Yeah, and so little by little, I just kept learning about it more. I was finding that at the time, the more I was exploring about how my own brain functions as a professional, I was finding how my communication and my own techniques was impacting my coachee's experience. So
Right.
um, yeah, it was brought me a lot of insight into how much first I had to change myself,
Mm-hmm.
and develop and kind of explore within myself, in my how I was communicating, to make or to help the process be more brain friendly, to help my learners become more motivated or find their own motivation. So it was interesting how, it really, finding this approach helped me learn more about myself, that I had to go within first,
Mm-hmm.
where I could help others in a deeper way that I wanted. So
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And how has this, understanding of the brain personally changed the way that you approach learning new things, and you help your coachees help learn like French or English?
Yeah. Um, for myself, yeah, I would say, I mean, it's still ongoing. So I find in learning in general, it's brought me, let's say, understanding of how I work, how I function, what I need to learn. So I know when I'm in
Hmm.
a situation, in a learning situation, um, and the person who's teaching me may be very directive or maybe imposing a certain way of teaching.
Yep.
I know now I speak up for myself, whereas younger as a younger person, I would just stay silent or just accept and struggle and just continue on with my struggle. I wouldn't, speak for myself. Whereas now I would say, well, the way my brain works, I need autonomy. I need to visualize. I need to, I would express my needs as a learner. And I think that's key. And that's kind of the message I share with my own coachees, with my own learners, is to, um, well, to help empower them to find their voice, so that they express what they need to learn more efficiently. Who am I to tell them this is how you need to learn? This is the best way to, I don't know, learn vocabulary. And the fast
Exactly.
way is this way.
Exactly.
There's so many techniques. There's so many ways. Let's find the one that works for you. So yeah, I think now, I feel more empowered as a learner, as a professional as well.
Hmm.
It's a work in process though. You know, um, so I have my own coach as well who helps me through that. And um, so yeah, and answer your question, I think definitely helps to learn about ourselves first, um, and helping help my learners to explore themselves and to
Hmm.
for themselves as well.
It's interesting that you mentioned this because sometimes we overlook the fact that, hey, we have to learn about ourselves, first of all, in order to help other people and
Yeah.
other clients. So thank you for sharing that. Now, going to the neuro part, what is one brain principle that you use with every client in every session?
Mm, interesting question. um, there's several. One that really comes to mind is just a recent one. Um, Actually, I have a client who's constantly um, judging himself from beginning of the session into the session. So we're we're really working on um, acceptance and um, yeah, acceptance and kind of being uh, moving away from perfection. So I think it kind of links in with the imposter syndrome that
Hmm.
that learners may feel, um, you know, where they feel in order to speak, they have to speak perfectly. So the my client that I was mentioning, he's he comes in and he constantly judging himself. If he makes a mistake, then he starts to he starts to criticize himself or say, oh, well, that was wrong.
Hmm.
Oh, silly me, or oh, that was stupid, So, I asked him if we could talk about, what was happening there and where that judgment is coming from. Um, and so we had that short conversation about, the fight, flight, freeze,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, that he was definitely in that anxious mode, and, the emotional reaction faced um, with his performance.
Mm-hmm.
So we discussed how he could really let go of the judgment he's feeling, um, instead of judging himself, embracing speaking with mistakes, going with the flow, which you and I spoke about just previously before this
Right.
conversation. Going
Mm-hmm.
with the flow and just like accepting, um, yeah, just that acceptance,
Mm-hmm.
um, that you know mm, we learn through our mistakes, and instead of seeing the moments of speaking as moments where he has to speak with perfect English or perfect French, just um, seeing it as a moment of learning. And if the verbs aren't in the proper tense or whatnot, accepting that and being okay
Right.
with it. We will see that
Right.
at another time. So the brain aspect is just having that conversation of, the emotional reaction, what happens when we react emotionally, and how that inhibits performance, how it inhibits learning. And that actually made him realize, and this was a doctor, by the way,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
a surgeon. So, it actually opened up kind of a whole conversation into, um, how the human brain works. And so he offered me an
Awesome.
insight on the theory behind it as well. So, that actually acted as kind of a conversation piece in our
Mm-hmm.
sessions as well. And so, yeah, I think bringing in that awareness of, it's not only bringing in theory of neuroscience or bringing in theory of how the brain works. um I think it's kind of having that open conversation and helping our clients to um just become aware of what's happening, because we can know
Mm-hmm.
the theory, but do we know that that's what's happening within us at that moment? So it's you know um it's a really great conversation to have with our learners.
Mm-hmm. What is your method? I'm sure you had this kind of learners where they felt stuck at a point in
Yeah.
their journey of, language
Mm.
learning, of course.
Yeah.
Um, what are what methods have you used to help them pass or surpass that blockage?
So you're asking at like specific methods used when
Yes,
they get stuck in
yes, yes.
speaking, or is that what you're saying?
Mhm,
Yeah. Well, I work with people who, they come to me to improve their speaking
mhm,
skills, and a common struggle they express is finding their words, um, that when they understand the language, but when they go to speak, then they freeze. So, um, really, this the first. I have trouble with the word method because I don't feel it's really a method in a sense, but
mhm,
I guess technique would be, well, again, understanding where that's coming from, where that feeling of feeling stuck comes from. Is
mhm,
it linked from a memory, a learning memory, a bad learning memory? Did they experience something in their learning journey, in life? Then, I like to go into exploring, okay, well, how can we help you um, detach from the judgment that I was speaking about earlier? Um, what will help you feel confident? And I mean, that varies from person to person. A common reply is um, learning vocabulary. I can't find my vocabulary. So um, usually we'll explore together um, what specific vocabulary that they need for a
Mm-hmm.
specific topic. So we'll kind of brainstorm the specific topics that they're interested in, or that they need, that they're passionate about, and then discuss, okay, well, how can we maybe categorize the vocabulary that they need for that specific situation, that specific conversation. So that kind of links into what we do in neurolanguage coaching too, is making um, the goal as specific and small as possible. So we could, make the learning easier for them, um, help them kind of um, overcome uh, their struggles step by step, and not be overwhelmed with several points to
Mm-hmm.
overcome. So in regards to vocabulary, um, like I said, it can vary from person to person, but one common thread would be determining what specific topic or category of vocabulary they need for what situation. How do they like to learn vocabulary? Um, so we'll explore, kind of even we can suggest different
Mm-hmm.
techniques, whether it be like with something more visual, like
Right.
through mind maps, through even through videos. I have a lot of learners who like using video with the subtitles, and then picking out, okay, let's see how many nouns we can identify in the video, or in the
Mm-hmm.
podcast that we're listening to. So um, really, exploring with them, seeing what works for them. It always goes back to them driving the learning.
Thank you. And it's about the learner. It's about the journey with the learner, and it's kind of a dance. I
Certainly.
call it a dance. You dance
Yeah, I like
together, kind of
that.
thing, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but sometimes you need those aha moments, and the learner needs that aha moment. How do you use those aha moments your um, in your um, uh, teaching, right? And why are they important for the brain?
Mm. So there's moments of awareness when you say aha moments. Is that it?
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's interesting. Um, yeah, those mm, the insights or awareness actually helps learning in the sense, well, we're not, I believe, you can't change anything unless you're aware of it. So if
Correct.
one wants to, um, improve the pronunciation, I have a lot of learners who come to me because they want more clarity in their speech, or they struggle making themselves understood, or they struggle understanding fast English or fast French. So there is a period in the first part of our contract together where we build kind of awareness building, really. So it's interesting because it usually lasts about a month or two, that period of awareness building. And it comes to a point where they realize that, oh my goodness, that's why I've never understood, because I never learned the sounds. I didn't know that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I didn't know that one common thing is like the vowels in English, the E sound, the I sound, the short vowels, the long vowels, the combined vowels, things like that. Often a comment that my learners will say is, I've never been made aware of this. I've never learned it, or maybe I learned it, but I didn't realize that that's what it was, because it was in school, and there were other factors involved. So, a comment that would say is, "Wow, I just it just opened a whole world for me." And then they start seeing it or hearing it elsewhere, and they'll come back to me and say, "Oh my God, today, I watched whatever, an episode on TV, and and I heard, I heard that sound, or I heard that word, and now I can understand it." So, and then that's an amazing moment of learning, because it's, they come to that realization that this whole other world exists that they didn't know of before. And I kind of, prior to that, a teacher could say, this is the sound, this is what you need to look out for. But until there's that aha moment, that awareness, you can tell them till you're blue in the face. It's not gonna, enter their memory, or their into their brain. So yeah, it's really fascinating, the aha moments, or the epiphanies. I think I remember Rachel was mentioning the term epiphany, because it is an epiphany.
And it's interesting that what you mentioned earlier, that you have to make the subconscious conscious in order to determine any change. And that is actually the aha moment. And that's what you need, because we're just automatically just going and making the same mistakes again and again until we realize, hey, this is a mistake. And then, that is the aha moment when, I have to change.
Certainly. Yeah,
otherwise,
absolutely.
you're just going automatically on that.
Yeah. And that's interesting to discuss as well with learners, I find, is when that aha moment occurs, just having that short conversation with them of the conscious and subconscious. Like, now you're conscious of the existence of whatever, the sound that they're learning, or the pronunciation, or the vocabulary. So, really, it's learning how to learn throughout the process. It's really, really a process.
Right. Now let's talk about myths. What is one myth that you have discovered among your learners, and how did you overcome that?
Well, it's a myth that I experience and that my learners experience now. So it's probably my favorite one.
There we
It's
go.
I can't speak unless it's perfect.
There we go.
So I won't speak until I'll just stay silent, because I can't speak well, so I won't speak. So for me, it's a myth because, well, really, communication is not only, the exact words you put together, that you align together in clear speech. You can still communicate with
Mm-hmm.
words, with nonverbal communication. So yeah, and part of it, of course, is listening and staying silent to observe and to listen. Um, but we learn best by doing. We know
Mm-hmm.
that. The neuroscience, teaches us that. So, learning by doing, um, helping learners explore that, to go with the flow, take the
Mm-hmm.
initiative. And I do want to thank my father for teaching me that when I was first learning French and I first came to France. Um, he never had any formal education, and he was the first one to encourage me to, he said, when you're in France, you're going to be there by yourself. You'll be learning the language by yourself. What I want you to do, promise me, you're going to leave your apartment, go to the boulangerie, go to the bakery, go to the shops, go listen, observe how people speak. But, that's great. But make sure you repeat after them, model how they speak, observe, but repeat after them and model how they speak, but make sure you're speaking.
Awesome. Awesome.
So that, I thank him so much for that, because, yeah, I carried that with me, and it worked. I'm perfectly fluent in both languages too. So thanks to that comment. So I like to, carry that on with my learners as well.
Wow, fascinating, Margherita. Now, there may be people out there watching us, and they think about themselves. I have this fear of pronunciation. I have this fear of
Mm,
mistakes. I have this.
yeah.
What role does emotion come into this learning process, and how can we actually manage it?
Well, fear of, um, definitely stops us from learning, because we stay in that fear. Um, we never move forward.
Hmm.
So how it's sorry, your question was, how it influences learning. Is that right?
Right, right, right.
Just double check.
What's the role of fear and how it influences
Yeah,
learning?
yeah. So, well, firstly, it could inhibit learning. So if you fear speaking, it'll stop you from moving forward, stop you from speaking.
Hmm. Hmm.
On the other hand, good fear, so good stress in a sense, could help in a way, because it could put you into action. So I'm talking about the fear of, so not fear of performance, but more like, kind of um, having that little, what's the word? It's that positive stress in a way. So,
Hmm.
I know when
Ego
I have to
stress
pitch
is
in
coming.
front,
Yeah,
eustress, yeah.
ego stress, right.
Speaking in front of an audience, people I don't know, in French, a language that I master, but the fact that I don't know the people, I'll have that moment of kind of excitement. So I'm nervous. I'm not sure, how they're going to react, but I'm happy about that opportunity. So it's that eustress,
Hmm.
I feel. So it's, um, it's not necessarily fear proper, but it's that positive stress. The opposite is the fear of, the fear of speaking, or fear of, of taking any kind of initiative in learning. So
Mhm.
I would say uh, that inhibits our ability to perform. So again, bringing in that understanding where that fear is coming from and rationalizing it, helping our learner rationalize it, maybe label that fear,
Right.
um, and then um, maybe exploring, okay, well, by rationalizing it could help overcome it because it's bringing it
Mhm.
to light and helping them realize, okay, well, it's just, I'm feeling this way because of what I experienced in the past, or I'm feeling this way because of my own judgment on myself. So already putting that label and on it can help um, them overcome that fear, that negative fear.
Mhm. How about emotions? Are emotions important besides fear,
Absolutely.
the
Yeah,
positive emotions in the learning
absolutely.
process?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, already just exploring how to reward, how to feel reward in the learning
Mhm.
process. So, bringing in the awareness of the moments of learning. So, as we progress, having those benchmarks or the what are they called? Like, you know, little moments of as the sessions progress or the learning process
Mhm.
progresses. Okay, well, how are we going to measure step by step the progress? So that'll bring in the sense of reward because okay, well, oh, I've gotten this far. This is what I've
Mhm.
achieved so far. Okay, great. So let's what reward could you give yourself for achieving this milestone in your learning? So
Exactly.
yeah, finding those moments of reward. I think also just even as educators, coaches, um, to kind of go beyond the well done, oh, way to go, super, great, going beyond that and acknowledging um, sincere milestones or successes of our learners. And maybe even the question is, how can we encourage them to um, encourage themselves to, self motivate,
Mhm.
to increase the release of dopamine, the reward hormone. Um, so there's that
Mhm.
emotion, yeah, that positive emotion. Um, yeah, and then we have um, the happiness chemicals. What will make the learning process enjoyable, fun, pleasurable. I think that's personal to each person. So,
Mhm.
it's really checking in with our learner. What will make the our sessions together pleasurable for you, or what will make learning pleasurable for you outside of our sessions? What could you do
Right.
regularly to enjoy learning English, enjoy learning French or whatever language they're learning. So bringing
Mhm.
in the pleasurable emotions.
Mhm. And you mentioned how to take this out of our classes. Well, can you develop this idea a little bit more? What should somebody do outside of the learning, I don't know, coaching class?
Increase exposure, I would say. So I know what I like to discuss with my clients is like to ask them, okay, how much exposure are they getting with the language outside of our sessions? Often at times it's
Mm-hmm.
Very little, very little, because they live in a French-speaking environment, let's say, or an English-speaking environment. So really, our first sessions together are, or sorry, part of our first sessions together are exploring how can they really, even if it's just, micro moments every day, increase their exposure to the language, to using it and hearing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we're only meeting an hour a week, let's say, with all of our good intentions, uh, how quickly are they really going to learn? That's we can't perform miracles in 1 hour a week.
Exactly.
So yeah, absolutely, helping them find maximum exposure outside of our sessions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you. This has been incredibly insightful, Margherita. If there is one thing that you would like to leave our learners with regarding their brain, what would
Hmm.
it be?
Exploration,
All
in
right.
one word. So yeah, explore who you are, explore your brain.
Is that a
And
starting
there's
point?
absolutely, yeah, curiosity, I would say. Be curious
Mm-hmm.
about how the brain works. And actually, I attended a seminar and a conference last weekend, led by a neuroscientist who was speaking about. She spoke about um, brain heart coherence and emotional
Mm-hmm.
management. And she ended the talk with saying, she spoke about being curious, but that nothing is how our brain works or how we work is not black and white. So, studies will say what they say, um, but go within and explore how you really function, because we're all different. Every brain is different, as we know. So, be curious on about how your brain works, and be curious about how other brain works, and um, yeah, really embrace um, others' differences, other people's differences,
Mm-hmm.
because if your brain is different, well, other people's brains are different. So um, I guess bringing in also the humility and benevolence
Mm-hmm.
to ourselves and to others.
All righty. And what is uh, what are you curious about right now?
Ooh, so
Like, what is
that's
the
a
next
lovely question.
frontier for you in
That's a
understanding the
lovely
brain?
question.
Mhm.
Oh, well, I mean, um, yeah, well, that's kind of what brought me to the conference I went to last weekend. Um, I'm just really passionate about emotions and our brain, and I think um, I don't know what would be more. Really just continuing on that journey of
Mhm.
I mean the theory is out there. There's only, I can continue reading about the brain, but I think more I want to learn more about experiences.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so, and I'm saying that just because, although the conference and seminar I went to last weekend was chock full of information, fascinating. Um, the only thing is, it's very theoretical. So I think we're still in that. Um, you know, it's wonderful that we're exploring
Mhm.
neuroscience. We're exploring the brain. We're bringing in more of the neuroscience in education. It seems to me, in France anyway, um,
Right.
it still remains quite theoretical and not. It needs to be more practical So the exploration for me is exploring, okay, in practice, how does this all fit in? What's happening? How is understanding the brain happening in the classroom? How, and the thing is, from one classroom to another, it can vary. So I'm interested in seeing how exploring the brain, talking about the brain, is improving learning in classrooms, whether it be elementary schools or high schools, but even with the adult brain, how adults are learning differently. So seeing it in practice, that's what I mean by exploration.
Right. Thank you very much, Margherita. Where
Thank
can
you for
our
your questions.
listeners find you and learn more about your work?
Yeah, on LinkedIn. So I have my LinkedIn page, Margherita Sforza. I'm also have my professional Facebook page and Instagram as well. And I do have
All
a web
right.
that is in the process of being improved. So, but it's still up and running. So absolutely, yeah. And then email as well,
Mhm.
which you can share happily.
Sure. We will have all the links
Yeah,
below this video, and
great,
yeah, so people can get in touch with you. Thank you very much. It's been
fantastic.
a
My
real
pleasure.
pleasure having you
Same
to
here, Lucian. Thank you for your
this
time.
podcast. Thank you so
My
much. Have a good
pleasure.
one.
You
Thank you.
too. Take care, Lucian. Bye bye.
Thank you.